comes up, that's going to show up as a pop-up. That'll let you know this is being recorded right now. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and get started today with the student experience at CSULB for our fall 21 freshmen and transfers that are coming into the college bed.
Hi everyone, my name is Vanessa and I'm currently a third year. I am a liberal studies major and I just got accepted into the UTeach program for next semester. I have been with college education ever since I enrolled at Cal State Long Beach, so in 2018. And in the future, I hope to be an elementary school teacher and possibly a high school math teacher, but right now the focus is just elementary.
Hello everyone, my name is Tanya Isabel Martin and I'm a fifth year liberal studies student in the ITEP MSCP BILA program. I've been at CSULB since 2018. I transferred from Cerritos College and I hope to teach in a Spanish dual immersion school for K through 6. And yeah.
Hi, my name is Lily. I'm a fifth year liberal studies student. I'm in the ITEP program, and I'm currently student teaching at ABC School District in 3rd grade.
Hi everyone, I'm Arnesia. I am currently a pre-liberal studies major. This is my 2nd year and I'm working on finishing the core requirements so I can declare my major. When I declare my major, I want to do the UDCP program, which is like the special ed and the special credentials. So you get 2 credentials at once.
So why I chose Cal State Long Beach was because of the teacher education programs they offered. So when I was a high school senior, I knew for sure I wanted to become a teacher one day. And when I learned that Cal State Long Beach had a bunch of teacher programs, teacher education programs like UTeach, ITEP, UDCP, BILA, like all of them were really interesting. I liked all the options I had. And then there were some teacher and admin from my district who are CSULB alumni, and they really encouraged me to apply to CSULB. So yeah, I think because of the teacher education programs, I knew that Cal State Long Beach was the right fit for me.
The reason that I chose CSULB was so I knew I wanted to be a liberal studies major because I saw that as a K through 6 teacher, you could really impact students and you could really get into them that love for learning. And I wanted to get as much as I could in learning. And when I would talk to many teachers from my infancy, we would always be usually CSULB alumni, and they would tell me what great programs were at CSULB. And then I was turned at Cerritos College, and I saw the ease with which I could continue my BA once I got my AAT. And like the final straw per se that just completely like sold me was the Spanish BILA program. Since I am a bilingual person, it was extremely appealing, the idea of someday being able to teach in both Spanish and English. So that's definitely why I chose CSULB.
So I chose CSULB right out of high school because of the ITEP program, really. At the time, I knew that I needed the bachelor's degree in liberal studies, and I needed a teaching credential to be able to teach in a public school. And I didn't want to, go to a UC and not get the credential. So I thought, why not just go to a CSU and get both, especially at Cal State Long Beach, where you can get both. I came from a high school where my teachers, they weren't really supportive of being teachers, right? They were like, you're not going to make enough money, you're not going to, have a very successful career. And when I came to Cal State Long Beach, it was kind of the opposite. Everyone was very supportive and very committed to, educators and education in general. And so that's what really drew me into Cal State Long Beach and why I'm still there.
So hi again, everyone. I'm Ignacia. I personally chose to come to Cal State Long Beach because I am a student that have a writing learning disability. So that means I kind of struggle more with writing and comprehension, stuff like that. So picking a school that had support for their students that with disabilities was very important for me. And coming from a high school where I was very supported, it would have been like a different change for me to go to a school that wasn't trying to support their students. So that was one reason I chose Cal State Long Beach. And then also I chose Cal State Long Beach because I knew they had a really great teaching program. Me and my teachers have went there and became teachers. At the moment of applying, I wanted to be a math teacher, but I changed my major to liberal studies. So I was very happy about that. And I wanted a teaching credential, and what would help me with my learning disability was the two major things that was important to me. And Cal State Long Beach had great reviews on that from everyone I had heard it from. So that was the best decision for me. And when I got there, I felt it supported. I felt in love with the school, and everything I wanted in the school was there for me.
So now we're going to talk a little bit about student involvement at the beach, and we're going to start with ASI, which is Associated Students Inc., I believe, incorporated. I'm not sure. But ASI pretty much is our student government, which is in essence the organization that's in charge of representing the needs and the wants of the students in this university. ASI tends to have their own budget, and they're pretty much the reason that student life exists to begin with. Anybody can get involved to help represent other students, their needs, and can make a big change. Also, ASI has a lot of job opportunities that they have available that allows you to get experience in various fields. So definitely you might want to check them out.
In regards to professional development, we have what is called the Career Development Center. And what they do at the Career Development Center, well, they host workshops, they have job fairs, and they have resume writing, right? They help with everything that really has to do with your career beyond college and even within college too. But they, post job listings that are specific for Cal State Long Beach students. So employers are looking to hire you specifically. They reach out to the school and they list it. They actually have a job fair going on for educators today, which is really cool. So they have job fairs that are tailored specifically towards the field of education. That way you don't have to shift through a bunch of organizations or jobs that you're not interested in.
So at the beach, there are so many clubs and organizations. And to learn more about them, you can go to Week of Welcome, which is like a fair of where all the clubs can introduce themselves. And we call it Week of Welcome. I think it's like the second or third week of the semester. It's held for 2 days. And then there are clubs that are tailored depending on your interests, your major, or even your culture. And usually like in person, there's the fair like you see in the picture, but now with virtual Week of Welcome, you just have to find their Zoom link, which is, I forgot the website, but you can probably look at it on their socials too if you look them up. But you can just join their Zoom and ask them about their club, their meetings, what they do. And yeah, I really encourage you to check out Week of Welcome if you're looking to join any clubs or organizations.
The last thing about the campus, I guess, is to talk about what actually goes on in the campus, some things that we can do for fun or for recreation. So first we have our campus gym, which we call the rec center. So it'll be open pretty soon, if not this month. It'll be open in the fall. Where you go, you work out. It's very cool, very new. Lots of activities to do within the rec center. We also have the USU, which is our University Student Union. So that's where people can meet up, chill, be by yourself, study. There's restaurants inside. Definitely a nice place to hang out because they have like a bowling alley, game center, just a place for fun. And the last place that I want to mention is the Japanese garden. So we have our very own Japanese garden on campus, free to students. We usually go there if we want to relax. It's very pretty as well. So it's definitely worth checking out once you arrive on campus.
So now we're going to talk a little bit about student involvement specifically in the College of Education. And the first one that we're going to talk about is student ambassadors. Actually, Arnesia, Lily, and I are student ambassadors. Pretty much what we are is we are paid student representatives for the College of Ed, and we kind of provide students such as yourselves or prospective students with supporting guidance. So we can offer you like our student point of view about programs, and we can help you get connected to who can best answer your questions if we can't offer them. But definitely people tend to like to come to us because we might not be able to tell you specifically how to do it, but we can tell you how it can look as a student.
Liberal Studies Student Association, or LSSA, is basically just a club for liberal studies students. I'm currently the PR for LSSA, and honestly, this year, even though it's been virtual, I think it's been really fun. So a bulk of it is just learning about the career and the major itself. But of course, you're gonna meet different people or even see a familiar face. You can like make friends or even network. And some of our meetings in the past have been a Q&A with a principal and 2 current teachers from a school in Long Beach district. We had mock interviews for the interview for ITEP because that is a requirement when you apply for the program. And then last semester for Halloween, we had a costume contest and even played some games, and it was really cute. And then in the future this month, we're gonna have a meeting about opportunities to work with kids. So if you want more experience and you don't know where to start, you should come to our meeting. And we're also gonna have another one about the CBEST because there are a lot of tests that you have to take to become a teacher, like the CBEST, CSET. So we wanna try and clear up some of that confusion.
So another one of the programs at the College of Education is called the Caminos Peer Mentors program. And the mission of the Caminos Learning Community is to increase the pipeline of Latinx teachers and strengthen the cultural capacity of all students interested in teaching. So this is open to non-liberal studies major, anyone who wants to become a teacher. Just to explore it as a teaching as a profession and to serve in Latinx community context.
Now we have the Liberal Studies Peer Mentors, which I can personally say they have helped me so much in my first year. So the peer mentors are student representatives that work with the Department of Liberal Studies. They serve as a guide to help their fellow peers throughout offering assistance with academy, our class planning, our scholarships, our credential applications, anything like that, and even advising tools and more. So they're really helpful. I personally used them a lot in my first year. They helped me because I did not know how to plan out my classes in the beginning of my year.
All right, so next we'll be talking about some of the enriching student experiences that go on while you're at Cal State Long Beach. The first is study abroad. So liberal studies has opportunities to study abroad, including traveling to London, Israel, Ireland, Paris, Rome, and even much more. So you can either choose to take like 2 classes abroad over the summer or the spring, usually with other liberal studies students or people that are in your program with a faculty member, or you can choose a semester abroad. I know I spent a semester abroad in Australia, and it was so like I had so much support from the College of Education. I had to talk to so many staff members, but they were all very willing and helpful in that experience. And then I got to go, and they helped me transfer all of my classes over, so it was very seamless and very fun and easy.
Next, we're going to talk a little bit about field work. So as part of our program, we're kind of required to fulfill like these like amount of clinical hours per se, and all of these hours are kind of attached to certain classes. And it really provides us an opportunity to either like observe or help out in a classroom, and they're each attached to classes. So while we're learning a pedagogy or some theory in the classroom, depending on the type of class it is what we are supposed to be observing or applying in our class. So for example, EDL 300 tends to be a class that focuses on inclusivity and diversity in the classroom. So all the assignments that we have to do based on our observations is going to be based on that. And honestly, I love the fact that they have this field work because it allows us an opportunity to like see this in action and see if teaching is more of our calling. And when we do confirm it, it also helps us see whether our focus is going to be general education or special education, maybe it's bilingual, and maybe even if you just think that you're going to be K through 6 or middle school and high school. So the fieldwork is amazing as part of this program.
So for college and university events, there's always an event going on that are hosted by the different departments and programs on campus. So for the university, there's Week of Welcome, like mentioned in the previous slide. There's orientation, grad fairs, and more. And then within the College of Education, there's Education Week, professional development information sessions, mixers, and more. I personally went to a professional development event from the College of Education that was hosted by the student ambassadors, and it was really helpful. There was a smaller group, so it was really easy to ask questions and learn more information. And then honestly, to stay updated on all these events, like I just go to Instagram and search up CSULB and then just look through the results and just follow whoever interests you. So there's like ASI, CED, liberal studies. So yeah, if you just there's a lot going on. It's just hard to know when it's when it's happening. So I just like follow them on Instagram and stuff.
And then we have our final tips and information, guys. Do not forget to accept your admission to Cal State Long Beach by May 1st, and then register for your SOAR virtual workshop by June 1st. Liberal Studies Academy advisors will be reaching out regularly by email starting May 2021 with assistance and directions for class enrollment and class scheduling assistance from June to July. And you will be getting your emails through this email at the bottom. You see it? Yeah, the bottom right there. Don't forget to check your emails regularly to just make sure you're up to date on everything.
And we also want to offer you some more like final tips. I know we kind of sound like a broken record, but we definitely recommend getting involved with campus, with ASI, a club or something. It's just, you don't really realize how complicated college life is until you're living it. And having that group of people that you can kind of share your life with during both the rough transition from high school or college into CSULB or whatever college you're going to, or whatever if it's college life, having that like little community really helps you out. Also, don't be afraid to reach out for help. If you need help, don't forget that CSULB has many programs that are meant to help students in your position. Many people think that, oh well, there's none for me, it's probably for some other student that has bigger problems. No, the programs are made to help you with students like you in mind. So reach out to get connected. Even if you're not getting connected to the right person, they can help you get connected to the person that is going to help you. And finally, office hours. We really recommend at the beginning of the semester, go connect with your professor during office hours. It can really help you start creating a bond. Later, you might need letters of recommendation. I know that for the ITEP program or for student teaching or for the credentialing programs, you're probably going to need recommendations. So those always help. And make sure you may have an appointment with a counselor once a semester. They help keep you updated, and sometimes there's changes. And finally, have a calendar. I'm not kidding you, have a calendar. There's counselor appointments, there's office hours, there's class, there's assignments, there's events, and it's so easy to get overwhelmed with everything. So you guys got this. It's gonna be fun.
And then we have our Teachers Preparation Advising Center. So this is be like your one-stop shop as an education major. So this is, their business hours is from Monday to Friday from 9 to 5. Their drop-in advising hours are Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 10 and 2 a.m. to 4. We have our liberal studies advisors and we have our credential programs advisors. And when I tell you guys, you're going to see them regardless. Like our department is not that big. So like you feel really like close to them and you like see them. Like personally, I have worked with Nancy a lot, one of the liberal studies advisors. She was one of my professors before. She also do the mandatory liberal studies, what is it called?
Freshman advising.
Yeah, the freshman advising, and she really breaks everything down. If you have questions, don't be afraid to ask. Even if you think it's like a stupid question, I have stupid questions all the time. Ask, because she's like really there to help you and support you. All of them is there to help you and support you, and you get familiar with them, you get comfortable, and you don't feel afraid to talk and like be like, oh, I have this question, but I don't know how to do it. They are so super helpful. I mean it.
All right, so that kind of completes it. You know, we didn't want to overwhelm with information today because we know you're getting a lot of information thrown at you from the university and websites and emails and all these different spaces. So at this point, we purposely left quite a bit of time available for questions that people might have. If you want, for the next 5 minutes, you can go ahead and in the Zoom chat, type in any questions you might have. Or if you're more familiar with Zoom, of course, you can like raise your hand or whatnot to let us know. So one of the questions that just came up we see is, do you need a letter of recommendation for study abroad? Lily?
Not that I know of. I know you have to meet with like the head of the department, with your advisor. I know I met with Aaliyah.
Yeah.
But you might.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, generally speaking, for a lot of the trips that are housed within the College of Education, especially, like they generally won't need a letter of recommendation or anything. I think that would come down to like a very special opportunity with study abroad, like something more specific for only certain people. But yeah, as far as it goes, generally speaking, people don't need a letter of recommendation. It's just a matter of just working with your advisors to make it work for your plan. What is the process for getting into the ITEP program? Tanya, do you want to like take a real sweet little short summary of that? Because it is a very complex little process.
So pretty much it's an application. In order to get into the ITEP program, you have to file an application. It includes a couple letters of recommendation, an interview. I'm not sure if there's an essay. I think there might be a minor essay attached to it.
It's like a personal statement of why you want to.
Statement and transcripts. Usually you have to submit that by, depending if you're started as a freshman, I think it's due by the end of your second year. If you're transferred, it's due by the end of your first year at CSULB.
Yeah, that's the shortest way to put it, is basically it's mostly about putting paperwork together to actually apply and say, I want to become part of this ITEP integrated credentialing option. Another question that came up is, what is the difference between a pre-liberal studies major and a regular liberal studies major? I will say, I'll just answer that one quickly. Basically, it's really just a matter of freshmen versus everybody else. All freshmen start at the university as a pre-major. So that means you are intending to be in that major eventually. And that's, you know, an interest that you have basically. But we know that students have the first 2 years in the freshman year for our freshman admits to kind of make a final decision about what major they want to do. So it's really just like, I'm intending to do this major. And then through advising, you'll find out you have certain classes to complete and a certain GPA to hit, and then you'll get into the major of your choice, basically. Do you have study abroad with your major, or can you follow a different program? So, I mean, Lily is actually a good example of doing it differently. So how we have kind of like two options, where we have one way where we have a bunch of study abroad opportunities within the College of Ed that are taught directly by our faculty, like during summer and winter. But Lily did it in a different way, where she actually kind of created her own program, so to speak. She did a full semester abroad in Australia during like an actual fall spring semester. So it doesn't have to be necessarily like a trip within the college of ed or one that just college of ed students take. The opportunities are actually pretty wide of like if you want to create your own experience as well and like be with other majors. Someone asked a question of, did you guys build a new dorm? Who has information about the housing? I know that there is new building going on. Does anybody have comments about that from your perspectives?
Yeah, they are building a new dorm near Parkside. It's a lot taller and there's more rooms. And then they're also doing construction on Hillside. I think they're getting AC or something. They're doing a lot of improvements with the dorms.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, we need to upgrade for sure on that one. So good timing actually for that. So there's that. Yeah, thank you for helping on that one. So coming from a student who's still undecided, what makes CSULB's education program special and different from other schools? I'll make one comment, but I'll leave the other answers to the students. I will say one unique thing that does draw some people thinking down the road for teacher credentialing is Tanya was talking about these tests and this application process to become an ITEP student or to do an credentialing program. One of those tests that people find out about with teacher credentialing are the CSET exams. You have to show that you know your material before they let you start going into a teacher credentialing program to teach that material. So you either major in that field or you're going to take an exam. For our program, you don't have to take that exam. You have that in your major, basically, that we are a CSET waiver program. So our students do not spend $300 later on the multiple subject CSETs. There are other CSETs that might be for bilingual authorizations or whatnot, but the main ones to teach elementary or special education, that's one benefit of our programs specifically at Cal State Long Beach. But who else might want to take a stab at that?
So definitely I would say it also is based on the program. As we said, the field work, how CSULB has the field work integrated into the class. It really makes it easy to know if it's your major or not. And also I would say the ITEP program itself. I know that as a first gen person, I would not be able to financially get first my BA and then come back to college to get my credentials. Like, so the fact that I can do both my BA and my credentials and the bilingual authorization as an undergrad is definitely what really sells me with CSULB.
Anybody else want to take a stab, or you feel pretty good? I mean, yeah, I think the main things that our programs are most notorious for with liberal studies is probably the ITEP program. There's a few different integrated options where you could get your bachelor's and your multiple subject together, or you could go even further and get your multiple subject, your special education credential, and your bachelor's degree through that urban dual credentialing program. So there's very quick, fast ways to get these things as an undergrad, basically, and have it all done in a pretty swift manner. And I've seen people do it even faster than even 4 years. So, I mean, people have done some pretty wild things of getting their plans, basically. I think the ITEP, the CSET waiver program, and I think the last thing I could think of is just that we have a great student to advisor ratio. So like they were mentioning along the way, our college is tiny in comparison to other colleges at the university where you have thousands and thousands of students to a handful of advisors. We have 3 advisors to about a little less than 1,000 students. And even though that sounds like a lot, we have that, and that's actually great on top of peer mentors and extra support. So yeah, I'd say that's definitely another upper hand, even though we're a big university. Is the process of study abroad confusing or a smooth one? I would say it's generally tries to be as smooth as possible, but Lily, you know, you kind of said it was a little bit of running around, so to speak. But generally speaking, it wasn't horrible to put that custom experience together, right?
Yeah, if you do the faculty-led program, that one is so smooth. Like you just enroll and you're ready to go. If you want to create your own, like during the semester, it is a little like you have to go from one building to another. But they ask you to prepare everything ahead of time, like a semester ahead. So if you're thinking about it, you start to plan it out, and it starts to feel a little bit more smoother as you get closer.
Awesome, thank you. Another question that came through is, on average, how many years does it usually take for students to graduate in liberal studies? Technically speaking, I'd say about 50% of our students definitely graduate in that 4-year time frame, whether it's ITEP or the BA, honestly, because it just depends on kind of how they're going about it. Technically, when you do the math, though, the ITEP programs are 135 units for and usually you need 120 units for your bachelor's degree. So you do need to think a little bit with planning with the advisors of where are those other classes going to go. There's an extra semester that you're going to take care of if you're trying to get it done in the 4-year time frame. But yeah, the whole idea is that we make it possible for students to get their bachelor's and their credential in only 135 units potentially, which is just only about 4.5 years if you never take any summer or winter, or only if you take about 5 classes per fall and spring. So it always just depends on your comfort level of what you want to take each semester more than anything else. Here's another question. So do you know if we'll be able to come to campus full time in the fall? So that's technically kind of up to you. To some extent. The schedule of classes is actually published and viewable to anyone who wants to look at it on the CSULB website. We can put that in our email, recording that we send out later on to people to review this information again. But the schedule of classes is out there, and generally speaking, with the planning that took forth, it's pretty mixed. Students have a lot of options for some in-person hybrid classes, and there's also a lot of options for online. So they tried to make it as mixed as possible for this upcoming fall for some student choice. Wondering if it was possible to double major as a liberal studies student. That's the only downer answer in this whole line, basically, is it is not possible to double major. It is possible potentially to do a minor or to play your cards right with authorizations on the side, or a minor or something else that will give that aspect of things. But a double major, not in the college of ed. We're too big of a program with our units and our number of classes where it would take way too long, basically. So there are some majors in the College of Liberal Arts and Health and Human Services even that can have smaller unit majors. But basically they don't want you to overload the amount of units that you have on the universities. So they have certain cutoffs, and liberal studies is considered a high unit major just because it's so specific in education. And that's with the bachelor's or the ITEP. So either one, double majoring wouldn't be a factor for our program specifically. And then kind of tying into something we mentioned, to get your teaching credential, the CSULB provide a program where you can get it within 4 years. Yeah, so that would be like an ITEP possibility. Basically, the students have it kind of integrated as part of their bachelor's degree, and it's only an extra 15 units, basically. So yeah, if you work with us, we can definitely help make that a 4-year plan or less. And for the first 2 years, an incoming freshman wouldn't be involved in the ITEP program. Is it difficult to get in the program? Who wants to answer that question? No, yeah, you're all of you are no. Yeah, Vanessa, go ahead and answer that.
So it's not that difficult at all, as long as you keep your GPA reaches the minimum requirement. You turn in your application on time and complete. There are a lot of components to it, so I recommend making a checklist. And then also, I remember Nancy recommended me to put all the documents in a folder on a Google Drive or your desktop so that you're all ready. But it's just making sure you get all the little details. But it's relatively easy to get in.
Definitely, yeah, I would agree with that statement. Do the different types of programs, such as ITEP, add on to the original tuition? Basically, I think the way of looking at it is the tuition that you're paying would stay the same if you're ITEP, because you're just continuing as an undergrad. So only if you took extra time would tuition be technically added or anything, and that would just be because you need to take it a little slower. But there are, as Tanya mentioned, and along the way, there are some fees you come to find out about that are part of teacher credentialing that they all know about at this point, once you start going into that direction. Who wants to mention a little bit about the fees without scaring anybody, but just some of the things to kind of be aware of? Ton, everybody. Yeah.
Well, there's CU Best, CU Set, which one? What else did I do? RECA, student teaching, you have to pay for all that stuff. TPA, once you're in student teaching. So there are those exams that you do have to take and pay for, but you can usually get a waiver for it if you qualify or if you just look into it. I got waived for a couple of the tests. And then of course you don't have to take the CSET if you're a liberal studies major, so that's waived. So yeah, you do have to pay, but there are some waivers available.
Yeah, definitely. And I would say we'll always be harboring on students to do the scholarships application, and even our college ambassadors do like workshops on helping people with scholarship applications and everything. Because yes, there are some funds out there for sure that can cover some of these costs, and we try to get those out to our students as much as we can. But that's definitely something that will hit you more in junior and senior year as you're thinking about teacher credentialing, if that's what you want to do. Is it liberal studies advisors that help with the classes necessary during registration? It can be. Liberal studies advisors are all, I mean, that's one of our roles basically, is to help with registration issues or just helping with what classes you might need. But that's also, thankfully, we have like the student perspective and support too. All of our SAMs and, you know, peer mentors, they also help too, because sometimes I can't offer exactly what it was like in that English class with that professor, but they can. So they can kind of give you a little bit more insight in that sense, but definitely, yes. The first year for all freshmen, you're gonna go to advising to get a little bit of help with how to get going so that by third semester, you're able to be a little bit more on your own if you want. For transfers, we see all of you your first semester. So everybody will get help that first semester at least with like knowing how to plan scheduling and degree planning and how to move forward basically. But you always have the ability to reach out if you need us. How many units is the ITEP and bachelor's in multiple subjects? That was 135 units for all of the ITEP options, both ITEP urban dual and ITEP multiple subject, both are 135 units. But it takes 120 units to get your bachelor's degree. It's just, yeah, so it's just an accelerated program. It's just a fast track, basically, way to get things done a little sooner versus having to finish your 120 unit program and then start the credentialing program. Is the process for the urban dual program similar to ITEP? So thankfully, I'm just going to put it out there. The credentialing program process is going to be pretty much the same ITEP or not. Like everybody fills out the same application. So you don't even need to think like, oh, am I doing it right for ITEP or BA? Like everybody works on the same paperwork basically. So yeah, definitely that will be the same kind of process between all the credentialing programs. Do you offer winter and summer classes for liberal studies? Yes. We do. We do offer as many as we can, especially summer. Summer is the big time for a lot of more of our classes to be offered. Do the 135 units include general education? Yes. Our major is unique because it has both general education and major requirements all embedded into each other. So all the GE is taken care of through our program. What are some classes you would recommend for freshmen? You're going to find out because basically that's part of our role as advisors and mentors over the summer is we're looking at all this credit coming through with AP, where did you go, what kind of scores, college credit. We look at all of it on top of what's open in the schedule, and everybody is given a recommended list of classes. So you will be getting help with a few classes we'll recommend, but then also with a few classes that will give you some choices between for fun, like dance and theater and kind of things like that, basically. If you want to add a minor, would you need to start to do that before the semester starts? Students can add minors once they have a 2.5 GPA and they're in a major. So freshmen, be patient, your time will come. Transfers, we can talk about that in the first semester. What GPA do you need for the ITEP program? Does anybody know that off the top of their head? I'm curious. I know you guys have a lot of in your mind with registration this week. The answer is a 2.67. That's the answer. You need a 2.67 cumulative degree to get into a teaching credential program at Cal State Long Beach. So it's actually not too bad. In the credential program, is student teaching at the same time as your methods classes? It could be. That's one of the pathways. There's a You Teach pathway that comes up. So it doesn't have to be, but you could do student teaching at the same time. Last two questions I see on here. Are you only exempt from the CSET in the ITEP program? Good news, you can do any pathway and you are covered on the multiple subject CSETs with our program. So if you do ITEP, you're covered and don't have to take those exams. If you do the BA pathway, you're covered and you don't have to take those exams. Everybody from liberal studies get that CSET waiver. And then there are no dumb questions for whoever said that this was a dumb question, never dumb questions. As a transfer, would I have to retake general education? Technically, it's not really so much retaking general education, but we're going to see what general education classes you took, because that's going to be part of our evaluation. So our program requires GE just like everybody else. We just have a few things that are a little bit more specific, like when we look for US history, what years of US history did you take, and certain things like that. So generally speaking, most people that come in are not retaking their entire general education, even if they miss a few things. They might just go, oh, I need a different math, or oh, I need a different geography course or something like that. We'll let you know if we see anything strange, if you were like following GE differently or whatever the case is, but generally speaking, that's not the idea, is people don't retake GE just because we have it in our program. Also, a couple questions that just got added. What are the different ways to become a teacher? That's a big question. Technically, this is one way, but the nice thing at the end of the day is you don't have to be in a set major per se to become a teacher. It's all about that teaching credential later on. There's just certain perks with being part of certain majors, basically, because of the CSET waiver, because of ITEP, things like that. But as far as it goes, you can major technically in anything, and then it's all about whichever teaching credential program you follow later on to become a teacher. What month do you believe we're going to receive our class schedules, and when do classes start? So classes are definitely going to start at the end of August, like later on. That's going to be down the road when it comes down to it. But everybody's going to be registering for classes in June and July based on your SOAR virtual workshop date. So you'll get more information, of course, starting in May from us. And then as far, yeah, definitely.
You're choosing your own schedule. So it's not about somebody's going to give you a class schedule. You're choosing when you're taking the classes, which classes you're taking. You just have to make sure that you add them to your cart, which is kind of part of the SOAR program. And I'm pretty sure they're gonna explain it to you. But you're choosing. Yeah. So nobody's coming over and saying you have to be up at 8. If you want to be up at 8, you can do that. If you want to do classes, it's up to you.
Exactly. Yeah, we're only going to recommend a list of classes. We're not going to put anybody into specific classes per se. We're going to try to give as much choice in the matter as we can, especially because of online and in person and things like that too.
And there's a variety of timings for the same class. So you can have, for example, maybe English 100, and there's maybe 6, 7, maybe even 10 options for it. So you're choosing.
Definitely. Thank you, Tanya. Going over the ITEP pathways, basically in a nutshell, it really comes down to, because that's like a full hour conversation right there. But basically the idea of it is like, we really have mostly a couple different primary ITEP pathways. You can get an integrated bachelor's in multiple subject credentials so that when you graduate, you're ready to teach in elementary. You can do the ITEP urban dual credential, which is special education and multiple subjects, so that it's like, oh, I can teach anybody in these capacities when I graduate. But like Tanya was saying, there's also a bilingual authorization. So that could also be added into the mix of like, I want these credentials, but I also want a bilingual authorization to teach in like a dual immersion classroom as well. So there's not like a whole lot of ITEP options necessarily. I think it just kind of gets complicated when you start looking at like all of the different options and how to go about it and when to plan it and what classes do I need done first and things like that. So it really comes down to more of the planning. But in a nutshell, if you want to do or you're interested in an ITEP pathway, there's one for elementary education with your bachelor's, and there's one for both special ed and elementary education with your bachelor's. And there's also a bilingual authorization that could actually be tied to either one technically. So it's pretty flexible. So yeah, that will definitely be gone over in your first semester advising. especially for the transfers. They really get it in their first semester, but don't worry, like that is part of our job, is to really go in depth on the ITEP possibilities. And then, yeah, just again, you'll be receiving your class schedules in June and July, basically, or not really your class schedules, but classes to choose from to build your class schedule for the fall semester is a better way to say it. So yeah, a lot of good questions. I'm really glad we left a lot of time for that. So yeah, definitely. Does anybody else have any other questions they want to put into the Zoom chat in the next few minutes before we start wrapping up here? I'll give it a couple minutes beforehand. But definitely, yeah, I know one of the big things as an advisor for sure is that the ITEP pathway is like one of the biggest question marks of like, how does that work? No one's expected to do anything for ITEP or teacher credentialing upon admission or in their first semester at Cal State Long Beach. This is all stuff that's going to be advised to you along the way. And then we're going to work with you based on what your interest is with teaching to integrate that in whatever time frame you're looking at. So if you're thinking 4 years, that is a 4-year possibility. How soon are you guys able to, how soon were you guys able to get into the classroom and check out the environment? I'm trying to like think about that question in terms of like on campus to like how soon will new students be able to maybe come on campus? Since campus will be reopening, I mean, technically is open to some extent, but it has on in-person classes for next semester. Like people can definitely come to campus to start, you know, looking at it basically and exploring it, but you know, they'll come in August essentially. But if you did mean something different, you can maybe elaborate on that question a little bit more. Planning on commuting, how do you plan extracurricular? How do you plan the extracurriculars alongside classes? I mean, that's a balancing act right there, basically. Who would have any response to like balancing extracurriculars? Yeah, Vanessa?
For extracurriculars, I assume you mean like clubs. A lot of the clubs I've joined, they're like the social ones, are like Vietnamese Student Association and stuff like that. Usually their meetings are in the evening, like at 5. So if you have your classes like in the mornings and afternoons, you can have your evenings free to go to the meetings.
Yeah. And I do foresee like there's going to be in-person and online availability for a lot of things in the fall, including advising and whatnot for people that aren't coming to campus necessarily. So I do foresee like online things as well as in-person things for people that want to be involved on campus next semester to some extent. How would you explain the day-to-day and student life at CSULB? Big question. Who might want to tackle that one from the student perspective? Just generally, how would you explain the day-to-day and student life at CSULB? What's our culture like, folks? Yeah.
I would say usually my day, I hated early morning classes, so my day would usually start at like 12. I usually come to campus because I was a commuter for the first semester, so I would come to campus, go to my classes, and then I had breaks where I would like hang out with my friends or study. We have an amazing library that have like 5 different floors that I truly miss, and I can't wait till they open up. And then like I used to hang out in the basement. So in the basement is more noisy than quiet, and I like to work in noisy environments. So it really helped me. If I wasn't in the library, I was outside hanging out with my friends, getting attacked by squirrels. Because them squirrels, if you have food, they will come. So yeah, squirrels. Watch out for the squirrels. Also, I spent my time just going to do certain things they had around school, like in the science building they had like where you can see the stars and you go to the top of the building and you can see, and that was something interesting to me because I never really did anything like that. So I did stuff like that. They have trips that you can go on. Before the pandemic happened, I was supposed to go to, what's that place called? It started with J. It's in one of the deserts, I forgot. Yeah, but I supposedly went there, and like they have really great opportunities for you to just go and do things with your friends, and it's really easy to make friends sometimes, as long as like you're open to making friends and like you want to see people and make friends. One of the favorite places, and if you come to Cal State Long Beach, I live by this, is the Nugget. The Nugget is like the best place to ever be, to eat, have the best food. Like, honestly, I would never lie to you about food. I'm a big foodie person. So the best food. If you guys would like to know anything else, like specifically, then ask me, because I don't mind talking about my life at Cal State Long Beach.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it was a big question, but that was a perfect answer, because it'll look different for everybody, basically. But that's a good way to kind of summarize the general culture. Reiterating, going back to that question about going back into the classroom. So the classroom with children. So technically for this last little while, fieldwork has looked a little different in the College of Ed because things have been remote and everything going on. So there was kind of more of like online observation going on for this past while, except for our student teachers to some extent. So we haven't heard any updates yet for fall 21 because we're waiting from the districts, but basically it just comes down to the school districts and their comfort level with having our students in the classroom for fall 21, the next academic year. So information will definitely be coming out to students more about that might have field work in a classroom for fall moving forward, and just seeing what that semester looks like. But yeah, it has been handled a little differently where people have been watching like Zoom channels of like, oh, people in the classroom as if they were there, but they're technically like watching it on camera right now. So we found ways to get around it so students could still observe teachers in the classroom until they're back. So, and then will there be tour guides to help with getting to the buildings? So I have heard on the sidelines, but I'm sure I know our College of Ed is always thinking ahead potentially for this. So, you know, stay alert for whatever comes from us. But I do know that SOAR is planning tours closer to August for people that want to explore the campus. So yes, that is coming on the horizon. So yeah, I think that's it. Anybody else have any last questions they want to get in before we kind of hit our quota at 4 o'clock? You've got a few more minutes to go. And these have all been great. So I'm blown away at how many really in-depth questions there are basically coming through. And I appreciate everybody that stayed through this and is listening to all this good information that's coming on. So just give it a moment, but yeah, basically, if no one says anything in the next minute, then we will probably wrap up pretty soon. So yeah. Okay, one more. So, and this will be a question for one of you. So making friends, how did you go about making friends at Cal State Long Beach? Who wants to answer that? Yeah, okay. It's a big question.
You go to your class, you sit, and you say hi to the people around you. And very likely, they're going to ask for your phone number, and do this even yourself. Ask for a phone number to study. And then you start hanging out to study. And then those study buddies become friends, especially if they're in the same major as you.
I would say how I made most of my friends were just like talking, just talking, because it's weird anyway. You're in a weird environment. You're going to be like, oh, okay, I don't know you. But like, you'd be like, hi, how are you? What's your name? Blah, blah, blah. And some people really like that. And then some people will like be like, oh no, she's too broad for me. But yeah, that's how I made most of my friends, was just talking.
Yeah, I think the study buddy thing is definitely one of my ways that I made friends at Cal State Long Beach as an undergrad, is like you're going to end up meeting each other basically at some point in that class, if not being paired together at some point. So thankfully with our program and kind of how it operates, like a lot of classes are actually for just liberal studies students. So you're going to see a lot of the same-ish people to some extent along the way over the years in the program. So with that familiarity, yeah, that's one nice thing about belonging to a small community major, is like in the College of Ed, liberal studies is the only undergraduate program. You are the only undergraduates in the College of Education, basically, within our College of Ed kind of classes and such. You go to other colleges and you have thousands of people between lots of different majors, basically. So it's just a different vibe in the College of Ed, honestly. And I think that helps a little bit with making friends. But I think, yeah, study buddies and just like talking to people in classes, and even honestly in line at the Nugget, and stuff and things like that. Like everybody goes to the Nugget, and that's true. So there are definitely opportunities outside of the classroom as well, where we're going to make sure that you can, you know, casually talk to people too. So great questions, great questions. So yeah, you know, I think since that was a great last question that a couple people actually loved having that answered, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping up. At this point, we used a great hour of information with everybody, and it's just been fantastic. So yeah, we'll go ahead and thank you. And yeah, thank you all for coming to this. Thank you to all of our student presenters for presenting all of this great information, basically. And like we promised, we're going to send this recording to everybody. We'll go ahead and stop the recording.